Hey everyone, ready to dive into a topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts. Today we're talking money.
Finances.
And not just how to, survive on your paycheck, but how to really make your money work for you, especially if you're a go-getter, an entrepreneur at heart.
That's right. We're all about building wealth, and today we're digging into a strategy that's a classic for a reason, the 50-30-20 rule.
Okay, I've heard of this, but to be honest, sometimes those numbers-based rules make my eyes glaze over a bit.
I hear you. It sounds a little dry, right? Like some accounting equation.
Okay.
But stick with us because the way it breaks down is actually pretty simple and really effective.
All right, convince me. What's the core idea here?
So the 50-30-20 rule is all about taking your income and splitting it into three main buckets. 50% goes towards your essentials.
Essentials like keeping lights on, rent, groceries, the gotta-have-it stuff.
Exactly. The non-negotiables. Then we've got 30% allocated to your lifestyle choices.
Okay, so that's where the fun stuff comes in.
Right. Things you enjoy, hobbies, travel, going out with friends. And then that leaves us with the final 20%.
Which is for?
Savings and investments.
Okay, I'm already seeing how this could be helpful, just getting that big picture view. But let's break those categories down a bit further because I think that's where people, including myself, get a little tripped up. Like, when we say 50% on essentials, does that mean I'm living on rice and beans?
Not necessarily. It's more about being strategic with your spending. And honestly, essentials can look different for everyone.
That's true. Like, my essential might be your splurge. So how do we figure out what actually belongs in that 50% bucket? And how do we make sure we're not, dreading our lives while we're trying to build wealth?
Those are great questions. And that's where some of the nuance comes in. It's not about deprivation. It's about making smart choices.
All right, so give me an example. Let's say rent is eating up a huge chunk of my income. What are some strategies for optimizing that essential expense?
Well, depending on your living situation, you could consider getting a roommate.
Oh, true. Splitting those costs can make a big difference.
Right. Or if you're in a position to move, maybe you look into a more affordable area.
Okay, so we're thinking outside the box a bit, not just assuming our expenses are fixed. I like it. And I'm guessing there are similar tweaks we can make in other areas of that essentials category.
Absolutely. Like with groceries. Planning your meals ahead of time can save you a ton of money.
Meal prepping, yeah, everyone's always talking about it.
It really does work.
Yeah?
And it doesn't have to be complicated. Even just making a grocery list before you shop can prevent those impulse buys that add up over time.
So true. It's all about being mindful, right? Not feeling restricted, but making intentional choices.
Exactly. And you might be surprised how much money you can free up just by being a little more strategic with those everyday expenses.
I'm already feeling a little more empowered just thinking about it.
That's what we like to hear.
Okay, so let's talk more about those other two buckets, the fun stuff and the future planning. Because I have a feeling this is where the 50-30-20 rule really shines, especially for entrepreneurs who are, by nature, a bit more future-focused.
You're spot on. This is where we take a classic budgeting method and give it that extra edge, that entrepreneurial twist.
All right, I'm all ears.
So let's start with the 30% dedicated to lifestyle choices. Because I think there's a misconception that budgeting means depriving yourself of the things you enjoy.
Oh, for sure. No one wants to feel like they're living like a monk while they're trying to build their empire.
Exactly. And the research we're looking at actually emphasizes that this category is crucial. It's about enjoying the journey, rewarding yourself, and having a healthy relationship with money.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But how do we strike that balance between enjoying life and, not blowing our entire paycheck on fancy dinners and vacations?
That's where mindfulness comes back in. It's about making choices that align with your values and priorities.
So instead of saying no to everything fun, it's more about being intentional with the yeses.
Exactly. Like, let's say you love to travel. Instead of taking a lavish trip every month, maybe you plan one big adventure each year and supplement with smaller local getaways or staycations in between.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's about finding creative ways to indulge your passions within a budget.
Right. And it might even mean getting a little resourceful. Like if you're a foodie, maybe you explore local farmers markets for high-quality ingredients to cook with at home instead of dining out every night. Or you host potlucks with friends.
I love that. It's about community, shared experiences, and not feeling like you have to choose between your passions and your financial goals.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you can enjoy your life today while also building a secure and abundant future.
Which brings us to that final and perhaps most exciting piece of the puzzle, the 20% for savings and investments. Now, this is an area where I know a lot of entrepreneurs get excited, but it can also feel a little overwhelming. Like, where do we even begin?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll dive into deeper in the next part of this deep dive, because it's not just about socking money away in a savings account. It's about understanding the different avenues available to you and how to leverage them strategically to build long-term wealth.
All right, you've definitely piqued my interest. But for now, I think we've laid a great foundation by breaking down those three core categories of the 50-30-20 rule and dispelling some common myths along the way.
Agreed.
So, to recap for our listeners, we've got 50% dedicated to essential expenses, 30% for lifestyle choices, and 20% for savings and investments.
And remember, those percentages are just a starting point. You can adjust them based on your individual goals and circumstances. The most important thing is to find what works for you and your unique financial situation.
great point. It's not about being rigid, it's about having a framework to work with. And we're going to build on that framework even further as we continue this deep dive into the world of smart spending, saving, and investing.
It's going to be good.
So don't touch that dial, folks, because we're just getting started. All right, so last time we really dug into that 50% essentials category, and I think we debunked the myth that budgeting means like living like a minimalist monk.
Right. Definitely not.
It's about being smart, not about deprivation.
Right. It's about getting clear on your priorities.
Exactly. So now I want to get into that other 20%, the savings and investing part. Because honestly, that's the area where I think a lot of us, especially us entrepreneur types, we get a little intimidated, you know?
It can feel daunting.
It's like, we know it's important, but where do we even start?
It's like so many options, so little time.
Right. So let's break it down, make it feel less overwhelming. Where should people focus their energy first when it comes to that 20%?
Well, first things first, you've got to have that emergency fund in place.
The good old rainy day fund. See, I used to think that was like something only my super organized friend with color-coded spreadsheets did.
A lot of people think it's optional, but it's really not. It's essential.
Okay, convince me. Why is it so essential? Especially for someone who's running their own business, taking risks.
Because life throws curveballs.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're an entrepreneur, those curveballs can sometimes feel extra, well, curveball-y.
Yeah.
Your laptop crashes,
Yeah.
Unexpected expense pops up. Having that financial cushion means you can handle those bumps in the road without derailing your entire business.
And it's like peace of mind. Insurance for your dream.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be a huge amount.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much are we talking here? Because I know some experts say 3 months of living expenses, some say 6. It's a big range.
It is.
Yeah.
And it depends on your individual situation, your risk tolerance, how stable your income is. But having something set aside is better than nothing. Always.
That's true. Even if it's just a small amount each month, it adds up over time.
It really does. And it gives you that breathing room,
That feeling of like, okay, I got this. I can handle whatever comes my way.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so we've got our emergency funds squared away. What's next on the list?
So once you've got that safety net, that's when we start thinking long-term. Retirement.
Retirement. The word that makes everyone like 25 and under tune out immediately.
I know, right? It feels so far away.
But here's the thing, and the research we were looking at really hammered this home. Time is your biggest asset when it comes to investing.
It's the magic of compounding.
Explain it to me like I'm 5. What is compounding?
Basically, it's your money making more money. And then that money makes more money, and so on.
It's like a money snowball effect.
Exactly. And the earlier you start, even if it's a small amount, the more time it has to compound and grow exponentially.
Okay, I'm starting to see why retirement planning isn't just for like our parents' generation anymore.
It's for everyone. And the beauty of it is, these days, there are so many easy ways to get started.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, if you have a job with a 401k plan, that's a great place to start, especially if your employer offers any kind of matching contribution.
That's free money right there.
It really is. Don't leave that on the table.
And if you're self-employed, like a lot of our listeners are, you can open up an IRA, right? An individual retirement account.
Exactly. And you can contribute pre-tax dollars, which lowers your tax burden now.
It's like a double win. You're saving for the future and saving money on your taxes in the present.
Exactly. And there are different types of IRAs, so it's worth doing a little research to figure out which one aligns best with your goals.
Okay, so we've got our emergency funds, we're thinking about retirement, but this 20% is about more than just saving, right?
Right. We're also talking about investing, putting your money to work for you in a way that goes beyond just a traditional savings account.
And for entrepreneurs, this opens up a whole world of possibilities, am I right?
Absolutely. You could reinvest profits back into your business, explore real estate, get into the stock market.
It's like instead of just parking your money, you're putting it in motion.
Exactly. And the key here is to do your research, figure out what aligns with your risk tolerance and your financial goals.
Right. It's not about following the crowd. It's about finding what works for you. So if someone's feeling a little overwhelmed by all these options, where do you suggest they go to start learning more?
So last time we were talking about all the exciting investment possibilities.
Yeah.
And I'm already feeling inspired, but before we get ahead of ourselves.
We've still got one more piece of the puzzle to uncover.
Right. That 30% for lifestyle, it's not all about saving and investing, right? We've got to enjoy the journey too.
Exactly. This is where you get to have some fun.
Okay, so fun money. What are we talking about here? Give me some examples.
Well, it's different for everyone. That's the beauty of it.
So it's not like you're saying spend 30% on shoes or something.
No, definitely not. It's about identifying what truly brings you joy. What are your passions? What do you value?
I like that. So if someone loves to travel, for example.
Maybe they allocate a chunk of that 30% towards a yearly vacation.
Or experiences, concerts maybe.
Absolutely. Or trying new restaurants, taking a cooking class, whatever lights you up. It's about aligning your spending with your values.
100%.
This is making me realize I might need to reevaluate my own spending habits, actually.
Well, that's the power of a framework like this, right?
Absolutely.
It gets you thinking differently about your money.
It's not just about tracking numbers, it's about being intentional.
Exactly. And I think that's something the research really highlighted, the importance of mindfulness.
Mindful spending. So not depriving yourself, but making conscious choices.
Right. Asking yourself, is this purchase really bringing me joy? Is it aligned with my goals?
And I'm guessing that takes practice.
It does. but it gets easier over time.
It's like building a muscle, a financial muscle.
Like that.
So we've got our essentials covered, our fun money, and our future planning. But how do we actually put all of this into action? Because I know from experience, it's one thing to have a plan.
And another to actually stick to it.
Exactly.
Well, there are a few things that can help. One of the most powerful tools is automation.
Automation. Tell me more about that.
So instead of relying on willpower alone, which, let's be honest, can be hit or miss,
Oh, yeah, I know from experience.
you set up systems that do the work for you.
Give me an example. How would you automate this whole 50-30-20 thing?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. You can set up automatic transfers each month, so as soon as you get paid, a certain percentage goes straight into your savings account, another chunk goes towards your investments, and so on.
It's like paying yourself first.
Exactly. You're prioritizing your financial well-being before any other spending happens.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the importance of having an emergency fund, the magic of compounding and early retirement planning, and the power of aligning your spending with your values.
And of course, the importance of automation. Don't forget that.
Right. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
That financial freedom is within reach for everyone. It's not about being perfect. It's about taking action. Even small, consistent steps can make a huge difference over time.
I love that. So whether you're just starting out on your financial journey or you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to level up, remember, it's all about finding what works for you and creating a plan that you can actually stick with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy budgeting.